Okay, let's get into some more volume. I don't know what it is about this clapping thing, but I just love clapping because it's a pattern interrupt. It captures your attention, especially when there's a loud room with a bunch of voices and stuff like that. But here's what this video is gonna be called, or the purpose of this video. The purpose of this video is gonna be, these are the two books that completely transformed my life. These are the two biblical verses that transform the way that I sell, the way that I go about business, the way that I think about communication, and the way that I think about biblical wisdom. Because here's the truth. All this personal development stuff that you see out in the world, the personal development stuff that you see in books and seminars and training and programs, highly, more than likely, a lot of it has been derived from the Bible, from the words of Jesus, from the words of the prophets, from the words of the apostles and the disciples that went on to go share the message of Jesus Christ. And here's something that I stand on and a hill that I will die on. I don't care what anyone says, but you can have all these type of transformational experiences, these programs, these modalities, these healing, but the ultimate source of transformation, the ultimate source of healing, the ultimate source of your life being fulfilled and having true freedom is gonna be God, and especially believing in Jesus Christ. And that's what I put myself into. My name is Eliam Fuentes. I'm a Christian entrepreneur. I'm a faith-driven leader. I'm a professional public speaker, and I support hundreds of students in their communication, in their public speaking, leadership, emotional intelligence, and faith. We're building up a company called Master Communicator University. As a professional speaker, I go and speak in front of students, universities, organizations, entrepreneurship businesses, and we change some lives. How do we change some lives? Because of the man upstairs allows me to change your life. So we're gonna change your life over here in the next 5 minutes or so. We're gonna talk about this famous, most richest, wealthiest king called King Solomon. Now, King Solomon is this potent king. He's the son of King David in Israel. He's a young man, and he was foolish in his early beginnings. And then he came down to God and he surrendered. He said, all right, God, it's time for me to become a man and step into the leader you always called me to be. And King Solomon went to God and he said, God, I want you to grant me a discerning heart and give me wisdom so that I could steward and lead your people better. And God said, all right, because you have the pure intentions, because you have that genuineness, I'm gonna give you the wisdom. I'm gonna give you a discerning heart. And also, because you didn't ask for the riches or the materialistic things or the affluence, I'm gonna give it to you anyways. So King Solomon ends up going on his journey to become one of the richest, wisest, wealthiest kings ever. He's actually said to be the first ever trillionaire. And he also went through some foolery towards the end of his later half of his life because he ended up going away from the purpose of God. However, for this purpose of the video, we're gonna examine and we're gonna look into the wisdom that he left behind, because he left behind wisdom in this book called Proverbs. Proverbs is the book of wisdom. King Solomon used to get paid by kings traveling from all over the world to come to King Solomon for his advice. In other words, King Solomon was the original business coach. He was the original business consultant. Kings from many different nations would come to King Solomon, ask them, King Solomon, teach me how I should run my kingdom. And King Solomon said, all right, pay me for my time and my wisdom, and I'll give you the wisdom and the time. Now, King Solomon was no doubt chosen by God. He had God's wisdom in him. And these are the two books that I'll share with you that will change your life. This is The Richest Man Who Ever Lived, King Solomon, The Secrets to Success, Wealth, and Happiness by Stephen K. Scott. Shout out to my friend, my brother, my mentor, Eric Cusimonio, for giving me this book because, dude, it's transformed my life in so many different ways. Like, the life that I live right now, where I live, how I live, the amount of money I make, the people I get to impact, wouldn't have been possible if you didn't give me this book. So shout out to my brother, Eric Cusimonio. He's a multi-millionaire real estate investor, family man, man of God, Christian. And inside this book right here, King Solomon leaves all his steps of success, how to be successful, what skills to develop, how to lead people, how to build wealth, how to build relationships, and how to not steer away from God. Now, this is the book that's based on King Solomon's story. And inside of it, there's lots of Bible verses. There's Bible verses about communication. Proverbs 12:18, your communication could wound or heal them. There's the one to speak it like the piercing of a sword, but by the tongue of the wise is health. Now, many different valuable things in here. Highly suggest you read this book, read it, dive into it, study it. However, we're gonna go straight into the OG book, which is the Bible. This is the New King James Version. This thing is the sauce. And when you let these words of the Bible penetrate your soul and in your heart, they begin to renew and transform your mind. And man, it's sometimes difficult to think about who I was before Christ and who I was before Jesus and the type of life that I lived. And some people know that past. And I'm not ashamed of it because I've healed from it. I moved on because Jesus transformed me. And here's what I'm gonna share with you. These are the two Proverbs I'm gonna share with you. Number one is going to be Proverbs 11:26. I'm gonna start off at 11:24. Now, King Solomon says this: there is one who scatters, yet increases more. There is one who withholds more than is right, but it leads to poverty. He's saying, hey, if you scatter and you share your resources and your gifts out there in the world, you will increase more. Your resources, your abundance, your finances, they will actually increase. But if you withhold that and you hold it tightly more than you're supposed to, it's gonna end up leading you to poverty. If you're hoarding your wealth and you're hoarding your money, hoarding your resources, hoarding your gifts, it's gonna just lead you to poverty. But the generous soul will be made rich, and he who waters will also be watered himself. And here's the key part. 11:26 states this: the people will curse him who withholds grain, but blessing will be on the head of him who sells it. Right there, in the book right there, it says, blessing will be on the head of him who sells it. Now, this is game. This is valuable, especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're ingrained into your faith, because I used to have this notion that sales was bad or manipulative, or I'm trying to get something out of something. I didn't really see it as serving people until one mentor told me this. He said, some of you inside this room, inside this mastermind right now, have special gifts and talents inside this room. And it's selfish of you not to share it with the world and sell people your services, because your services can transform their life and make their life better. Your gifts and the talents that you have can make someone's life better, but you're holding on to it, and that's the most selfish thing you can do. See, it is biblical for us to sell our services and our offers and our programs. Where is the intention coming from? Use your gifts and spread it wisely. Be generous with it. It's just why we're creating these YouTube videos, because we're to be generous with the information, the wisdom we have, so that you can implement it in your life. So sell it. Here, Proverbs 11:26 is selling it. So this transformed my mindset, and it transformed the way I look at it. Now, to add on to it more, because man, King Solomon, he knew how to sell, he knew how to write, he knew how to do many different things. Proverbs 16:23 states this: the heart of the wise teaches his mouth and adds learning to his lips. The heart of the wise person teaches his lips. These are my lips. You see them? Lips. Those are my lips. You teach and you learn communication first. Where is your heart at? Where are your intentions at? How is your mind processing the things you're communicating? And you're gonna use your lips first. You're gonna learn communication first. And then you add persuasiveness to your lips. In other words, you add learning to his lips. Some variations of the Bible say persuasiveness to your lips. Other variations say learning to his lips. We're gonna go with the persuasiveness part. The heart of the wise teaches his mouth and adds persuasiveness to his lips. Right here, King Solomon saying, hey, first, you must learn how to communicate first from a genuine, pure connection intention with wisdom from your mind. Then when you're good at that, that's when you begin to add persuasiveness and influence and the skill set of selling to people. Because if you go straight into selling people, you're gonna come off transactional. You're gonna come off as you're trying to get something and you just wanna use them for their money. But if you communicate from a pure intentional place, from genuine, and then you add persuasiveness to your lips, man, you'll probably be the richest man who ever lived in your generation and in your legacy. Those are the two books and the two verses that I got for you. Apply those verses for you. Read the entire book of Proverbs. That's probably the only book you'll ever need in personal development, because it'll teach you lesson after lesson after lesson. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Eliam Fuentes. Find me on Instagram at Eliam Fuentes. We're here to transform millions of lives. Come on forward. And we're all doing it at the center of God and the center of Jesus Christ, and making sure that's the core of everything we do. And God decided to use me. He decides to use you, the most imperfect people, to carry out his mission, because you are worthy and you are enough. So that's what I have for you right here. See you on the next video.